Rock and metal invasion. Rock and metal invasion. Rock and metal invasion. Rock and metal invasion.
Hi, welcome to Rock and Metal Invasion. My name is Steve. Coming up on the show today, I'm doing my top 10 two and done hair metal albums. So on a past episode, I did my top 10 one and done hair metal albums. Now I'm going to do my top 10 two and done hair metal albums. So to qualify for this, you need to have only done the two albums. And of course, I'm calling them a hair metal album or hair metal band. I think we kind of know what I'm talking about when I say that. Bands that released albums from around 83 to 92 had a look, had an image, had a sound that we now call the hair metal sound and image, and what we would now term as hair metal, potentially anyway, as hair metal. So as you know, if you watch my channel, quite a few bands I talk about on my channel would fit that category. So I've got a lot in my collection. In fact, everything that's in my top 10 or going to make my honorable mentions is something that I have in my collection. All right. So, and I do know as well that it's quite possible that maybe I got this wrong. And in fact, they did release more than two albums. I'm pretty sure I got it right. But of course, sometimes these obscure released independently type albums that maybe I'm not aware of. But for the most part, I'm pretty sure that these are, at the very least, they're two and done major label or well-known albums that were put out in that period of time. Now there are going to be a couple of little exceptions that maybe fall outside of that time period, and I'll sort of discuss those when we get up to them. Now, so just like last time, I did my top 10 one and done. I'm pretty sure I had some honorable mentions when I did that. So I'm going to start off with the honorable mentions, and then I'll get into my top 10. All right, so first honorable mention, Canadian band Reckless. Now, this is an example of it being outside the time period. This is like 1980, I think, something like that, maybe 81. No, 80. Yeah, 1980. The debut Reckless album. This is like proto hair metal. Really good, female fronted for their first album. And then in their second album, they get a different vocalist. So they have a guy coming in. Believe it or not, that is a guy. He comes in for their second album. Steve Mann, not Steve Mann, is it? It's Steve Madden. Sorry, he's the kind of guy that runs the band. Really, pretty much his band. So this is the second Reckless album, Heart of Steel, and it's obviously a lot more hair metal. Just looking at the image, but this is '84. Again, this is on Heavy Metal America. So the Canadian band. This one here came out the first one came out on EMI, but they're both really good. Like I said, this is more proto hair metal, and this is when they're really embracing that sort of 80s metal sound. It is quite early days for hair metal, but definitely got the look down, haven't they? So, and there's some good songs on here. Hot and Ready, Heart of Steel, the two tracks that open up the album are really good. And on this one, Victim of Time is a very good song. But they didn't make the top 10. Next one, Japanese band, Easy O. So this is the debut. Now, this was actually produced by Gene Simmons. So, of course, he starts Simmons Records, when hair metal is at its very peak and tries to, I guess, capitalize on its popularity, signed quite a few bands to his label. This is not on Simmons Records. This is on Geffen, but he is the producer. And I think he thought these guys could be successful. They didn't do so great, but I do quite like this album, but the second album I think is much better. And Fire in particular, with the title track, is a great song. Also, Love Junkie and Nightcrawler, two of the songs that kick off the album. Some great riffs on this. But it was a surprise it's only the two albums because, really good band. We think about how many albums Loudness have put out. I think they're just as good. But they don't make my top 10. But you've got Stephen Galvis coming in to produce on this one. But it's good production too. Sounds great. Quite heavy though. Some of the songs are quite heavy, and that might be why they maybe didn't break through. But I do remember Skid Row, I think, did a cover of Fire on one of their albums or one of their EPs. All right, next one. This might surprise some people that didn't make my top 10. But Sweet FA, They have this album. This is their debut album. I like the song Sister Whiskey. I think that's quite a not Sister Whiskey, Whiskey River. Sister Whiskey is another band. Yeah, Whiskey River. I like that song. But and interestingly enough, I was just happened to be watching YouTube, and they came up on my feed. I wonder how YouTube knows. I'd be interested in the Sweet FA. Anyway, they came up on my feed, and it was just an old interview, and they were talking about how they had all these bands trying to sign them, like bands, like all these labels trying to sign them or wanting to sign them. There's lots of showcases. One of them, the I think it was the vocalist, he said that one of the labels was Geffen Records, but no, they decided to sign with MCA, and we kind of know now that really back in the day, if you were signed to MCA, the chance, especially if you were a hair metal type band, chances of success weren't always that great. A lot of bands did not do well on that label. Music Cemetery of America, I think, is one of the acronyms, the way that acronym is used sometimes for that label. But yeah, this one's pretty good. It's got some good songs. I found the next one, Temptation, a little bit disappointing. Now they're actually on Charisma for this one, so I guess they've switched labels. But yeah, Temptation, and this is 1991. So again, yeah, it's getting to that time where bands like this are just starting to struggle a little bit more. But they didn't really, how some of the heavy metal bands were taking by like 91, they were starting to get a bit more serious. This band, no, not at all. No, we've got Bad Boy is one of the songs. Sexuality is another song title. Please, oh please. Liquid Emotion. Yeah. Anyway, next one, Slave Raider. Now I'm actually not sure what order, but I've got two. They only did two. There's actually I did look on Discogs, and there is like some obscure third album. But I don't. Maybe it's just leftover tracks. I'm not really sure, but I'm not going to count it. No one's probably heard of that one, but people may know these two albums. So it's Take the World by Storm and What Do You Know About Rock and Roll. So I'm actually not entirely sure what order they came out, and I think it might be this. I know that this one's 1988. But I'm not sure. What do you know about rock and roll? It has the song Youngblood on it. I like that song. That's good. And they've got a great image. They're really kind of a bit over the top, but I really like their image. But yeah, there they are. It's quite an image they've got, isn't it? But yeah, the gimmick was good, I thought, but the music, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just average. Another band, and again, these are just honorable mentions, bands that had two albums, but they didn't make my two and done top 10. UK band. I got a couple of UK bands coming up now. Todd Rock. Todd Rock, I think that's how you say it. Not the best band name, is it? Todd Rock, this is Wild on the Run. Now, they actually had an American producer. They had Lance Quinn producing this album. And, of course, he's known for working with Bon Jovi. It's a good album. This is really very good. I think if their second album, this one here, Pleasure and Pain, had been better, there's a good chance they would have made the top 10. So now this one, the second one comes out on FM Records in 1988, I think it is. Production by Chris Gorham. Yeah, but yeah, and then this one here is on EMI. This one's on EMI, and of course, they were sort of they did release a single on Neat Records around '83, so it'd been around for a little while. They kind of, were sort of on the very end of the new wave of British heavy metal. But this is, as you can imagine, with Lance Quinn production, it's like a UK version of Bon Jovi. Actually, great. I really like the debut album quite a bit. Sadly, the vocalist Snake died in the early 2000s. But yeah, and like I say, just the two albums, but they're worth checking out. Like I say, the second one not quite so good, but still worth checking out. Right, another UK band, Blue Blood. So talking about the new wave of British heavy metal, these guys were initially, or at least I think at least three of the members of the band were initially in the band Trespass, and they were a new wave of British heavy metal band. And in fact, Trespass put out a new album like a couple of years ago, or a year ago. Really good. I really enjoyed listening to that one. It's not hair metal really. It's more that sort of traditional, new wave of British heavy metal type sound. But yeah, so they really changed their look and image, and I guess they're going for more of a hard rock sound on this one. This is Blue Blood, The Big Noise, and then their second and final album, which I don't like as much, Universal Language. And both of these I think came out on Music for Nations. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, Trespass, I think it's just the vocalist who's in the band now, but Trespass have reformed. And I think a couple of the guys from Blue Blood, and along with the vocalist, did put out an album as Trespass around 93, 94 as well. So they did reform Trespass. In fact, I even think when the new wave of British heavy metal was actually happening, I'm not sure that Trespass actually put out an album during that time. I think they just released a lot of singles because that was a big part of the new wave of British heavy metal, a lot of singles. I'm not actually sure they did put out an album at the time. Retrospectively, I think there's a compilation that's got all their singles on it. But anyway, better move along because we haven't even got the top 10 yet. Still on the honourable mentions. So this is a band I've mentioned a fair bit, Private Life. So they've got 2 albums. Again, I know there's probably going to be potentially debate, or they're not hair metal. Well, AOR, hard rock. I'm counting it. They definitely got, at least some of them, got some hair there, haven't they? And yeah, I think the sound is still could be from what you might think was a hair metal band. Now, this band has Danny Johnson on guitar. He has come from the band Alcatraz. He played on, I think it's Dangerous Game, I think it's called. He was guitarist on that album. Yeah, and a couple of female members in the band. One's the vocalist, and of course this one's actually produced by Eddie Van Halen. So yeah. So then this is the second album. Yeah, now it's always quite tricky with this one because it looks like they're both self-titled if you look at the covers, but one of them is called Shadows, and I think it's this one. Here we go. I'm going to do my top 10 two and done hair metal albums. Okay, so it's not been easy to do this. What I've tried to do is basically, instead of judging it as one album, basically judging them as 2 albums, right? So with some bands, it's like, well, the first one's great, the second one not so good, or the other way around. So if you're consistent, then you probably had more chance of getting a higher ranking. So my first, the number 10 is the band Lion. So this is the debut, Dangerous Attraction. It's good. It's good. It's got some good songs. They're kind of known for being on that movie soundtrack. I think it was Wrath. And of course, probably even more well known as the band that Doug Aldrich was in. Also, they had a guy called Carl Swan on vocals, and he's also the vocalist on their second album as well. And Doug's also on guitar, Trouble in Angel City. Now, I prefer this album, and I really like the song Come On, but also it's got the song Lock Up Your Daughters, which is actually a Slade cover. But I talked about that on a recent episode. When I heard that song, I had no idea it was a Slade cover. I thought it was just one of their songs. It was a great song. Because, I'd heard Quiet Riot do Slade. I'd heard Brittany Fox do Slade. And I sort of thought, I don't really think I like Slade songs that much, But that song I really like. But yeah, so Lock Up Your Daughters. But yeah, I think consistently this is a really good album. And they go on to form, I think Carl and Doug then go on to form a band called Burning Rain after that. Put out a few albums. So that was number 10. Right, at number 9, I've got German band Love Trick. So I discovered them when I first discovered this album. This is No Rest for the Boys. Initially, actually, I got this on cassette back in the day and really liked it. And especially Politics of Love, No Rest for the Boys, the title track, Rhythm of Love. The first 3 songs are great, but it's very consistent, sort of, hard rock, early 90s hard rock. This came out on Mausoleum in 1992. But it's their second album. The first one is this one here, which I do happen to have on vinyl. It's not as good. It's still good. If you look on the back, kind of get a picture of the band. You kind of get an idea of what the sound's going to be like, looking at the band and the song titles. And yeah, like I said, German band. And, I always felt like the European bands sometimes just were just maybe that little bit heavier than some of the say the American hair metal bands. Maybe had a little bit more edge to them, and yeah, this was good. This one definitely worth checking out. It's a bit of a obscure one, but and you can't get it on vinyl. But yeah, Love Trick. So they're going to be at number 9, my two and done hair metal albums. Now coming in at number 8, I'm going to have to get the cassette, not the cassette, the CDs out again. So when Rat broke up, Stephen Pearcy formed the band Arcade, and so Arcade in my next selection. This is their debut. This came out in '93. It's got like Fred Coury from Cinderella on here. It's got Frank Wilczek from Sea Hags on here as well. But yeah, really good. This is A2, so this is the second one. They both came out on Sony, I think. Epic, yeah, and both had the same producer, Artie Bell. But I prefer the first one. There's a music video for Nothing to Lose, and that's a great song. It's probably my favorite Arcade song. And Stephen Pearcy sounds like prime Rat. Stephen Pearcy sounds really good on this, and yeah, there's some good songs. This one's a little bit more. It's definitely not alternative or grungy or anything like that, but it's a little bit more aggressive, I think. And but there's some good songs on here. Yeah, and actually, I really quite like the slow. The ballad songs are pretty good too, actually, on both these albums. But yeah, really, Screaming SOS. It's another good one. It's just a shame that they only did the 2 albums, but and it didn't. I don't think have a lot of success, but yeah, I think these are if you like Rat, you'll like this. This is really good. So yeah, they're coming in at number 8 on my two and done. Coming in at number 7, I'm going with the band. It's the UK band Rio. Now, this is their debut album, Borderline. Borderland came out on Music for Nations. This one's okay. It's not a very heavy album. It's interesting because it's like a two-man band. But yeah, so John Neal and Stephen Rodford. He does the drums, bass, and keyboards, and then John's doing the vocals and guitars. So it's really very much must be like a studio type band. Not saying they didn't tour, maybe they hired some guys to go out and do touring, but as far as in the studio is concerned, it's just these two doing it. And yeah, this one, and this is one of the reasons why it's in the position that it's in. It would be a lot higher if this album was better. But the second one, that's one of my favorite hard rock albums. It's Sex Crimes, and yes, that is the cover they decided to go with. But yeah, Music for Nations again. This one kicked ass, much heavier than the previous album, and this time they've actually got. I mean, it is still I think the two guys, but they've also credited some other people for the drums and backing vocals and things like that. But yeah, really good stuff. Really good album. So yeah, that's going to be my number 7 selection. Rio for their 2 albums they did, Sex Crimes and Borderland. All right, coming in at number 6, it's Lenny Wolf and his band Stone Fury. So this is the debut album. Lots of great songs, but I tell you what, Break Down the Walls. That is a killer song. I'm surprised that wasn't a bigger hit. Well, it wasn't a hit really, I don't think at all. But it's like The Star is the name of the album. But yeah, check out Break Down the Walls. Break Down the Wall. That's a great song. Of course, Lenny Wolf goes on to form Kingdom Come. This is the follow-up album, which is also really good, Let Them Talk. So you can see it's just got Lenny here on the cover, but it's also got that guy, who is his name? I know his name. Yeah, Bruce Gowdy. So Bruce Gowdy, and he goes on to be in the band Unruly Child. I think he does a band called World Trade as well. But yeah, really good stuff. As I say, I think both albums are equally good. But I will say Break Down the Walls is the real standout song. So it's interesting here because on the second album, it's really just these two. Again, it's like the Rio situation, isn't it? There's 2 guys, but there are, of course, other people credited to playing on the album. But on this one, there's much more of a you can actually see the whole band. It seems like more of a band situation. But yeah, I guess Lenny is the same with Kingdom Come, was really the driving force, perhaps with Stone Fury. Although as I say, it's probably Bruce Gowdy's band as well. But when it came to Kingdom Come, then it really was just Lenny Wolf. And when that first album came out with Kingdom Come, he was just, he just got some guys in to basically play on the album. It was represented like a band, but that's my understanding when Lenny Wolf came in with all the songs and everything. But yeah, and of course, then after those first two Kingdom Come albums, Lenny Wolf carries on as Kingdom Come, but it's pretty much just Lenny Wolf and a revolving um, number of different musicians coming in to help him with the album. So, but yeah, I do, as I've said many times on my channel, really like Kingdom Come and yeah, Lenny Wolf as well. So yeah, not surprisingly, Stone Fury are going to be my number 5 selection for two and done hair metal albums. And some may argue this isn't that hair metal. It's not your typical hair metal, I'll say that. But I think it's close enough. And like I say, check out the song "Break Down the Walls" because that could have been a massive hair metal hit back in the 80s. All right, coming in at number 5 for my two and done hair metal albums, it's a supergroup, and there's another supergroup coming up as well. But this one is Bad English. So of course, you've got Neil Schon from Journey, but also you've got John Waite there on vocals. And this is the debut album, which they had a big hit with When I See You Smile. But it's the rockers on here that I like. Best of What I Got, Heaven is a Four-Letter Word, Forget Me Not, really great songs. Second album, not quite as good, but there are still some really good ones on here. And of course, John Waite, John Waite, such a great vocalist, such a great voice. Um, Especially when for me when he's doing these heavier songs, like I've got his solo albums and I quite like them, but they're just not for me. I prefer when he rocks out a little bit more, and he definitely does that a lot more on the Bad English album. So, but there are only two. This is Backlash. Supposedly the band had already split up even before the album came out. I think there was some sort of conflict between maybe Neil and John. I think Neil Sean wanted the album to be heavier. John wanted it to be a little bit more pop, and that's where some conflict. That's what I've heard anyway. Came about. Kind of makes sense though, because of course Neil Sean goes on to form the band Hardline, and John Waite has gone on to continue doing solo albums, and yeah, more in the pop rock sort of thing. But yeah, like I say, I think these ones, when he does the heavier stuff, they're great with his great vocals, and of course Neil on guitar, amazing. So yeah, but just the two there. So that's coming in at number 5. Coming in at number 4, I've gone with Blue Murder. So this is a classic album and one that I think a lot of people are discovering, even now after the death of John Sykes. Great album back in the day. It didn't get the attention it probably deserved. Produced by Bob Rock. I've talked about this album quite a bit on my channel and on other channels as well. Black Hearted Woman, the last song on the album, is probably my favorite, but there's other good songs here. Riot, the song Blue Murder, it's really good. But yeah, great production, sounds great. The follow-up album, which I do happen to have on vinyl, which is a bit of a rarity, but won't be probably for much longer when Real Gone Music release their reissue of it. But yeah, Nothing But Trouble. There's quite a bit of time as well in between this one, which I think is around 89 on Geffen, and this one coming out, well, at least on vinyl in 1993. This is when I was the date on the vinyl here. But I'm pretty sure it's that had it in the can for a while. I think it probably had been recorded, and there was probably a bit of delay about it coming out. Could be wrong, but that's the kind of feeling I'm getting. A lot of these songs, yeah, very much sound like the songs from the first one, but perhaps not quite so good. But there are some real good ones on here. We'll Fall Down, which was one of the singles, is great. And I think Runaway, that's also a great song, could have been a hit. And songs like Save My Love and Cry for Love as well definitely had some hit potential, but it's 1993, so really tough. And yeah, interesting. Kelly Keeling comes in from Baton Rouge. He does one song on here, I'm on Fire. He's the vocalist on that. But Yeah, so it's a slightly different lineup. At least in the you got Mark Mendoza here. It's a different lineup, at least in the pictures. Although I think because in the first on the first album, you know, you've got Carmen Appice and Tony Franklin, and yeah, they are credited on the second album as well. But yeah, there they are dressed up as pirates for some reason. But yeah, there we go. Blue Murder. It was tough, but I had to. It didn't quite make the top three, but it does make number four in my two and done. Two and done hair metal album top 10. Okay, coming in at number three, I said there was going to be another supergroup. Arguably, you could say Blue Murder is a bit of a supergroup, but the one I was thinking of is this band, Damn Yankees. Now, this one's really crept up on my rankings, I think, over the last few years. I've really decided that this is a great album, that I actually really like this a lot more than I thought I did back in the day. Some really good songs on here. I particularly like Come Again, Coming of Age, High Enough, which was a big hit for them. I think it's a great song as well. Runaway, yeah, it's a great combination, of course, of Ted Nugent and guys from Night Ranger and Styx, but yeah, just fantastic stuff. And this follow-up album, it's fairly similar. It's fairly similar. It's, Don't Tread. I don't think this one did as well, but it's still got some really good songs on here. The song "Don't Tread on Me," I think that was a single. Where You Going Now, I think had a lot of potential to be, another high enough for them. I think that could have been just as successful. I don't think it was. Silence is Broken is good. Yeah, and it's produced by Ron Neverson. I'm pretty sure it's Ron on this one as well. So yeah, but yeah, the second one. Not doing so good. And, of course, everyone knows, well, not everyone, but a lot of people do know they did record a third album, but it just got shelved. And, well, it maybe didn't quite get it completed. I know some of those songs have turned up on some Ted Nugent solo albums and so forth. But yeah, so the third one didn't quite happen. But those two albums they did put out in the early 90s, really good stuff. So that's my number three and my top 10 two and done hair metal albums. All right, coming in at number two is a female fronted band I profiled a few episodes ago, a while ago. But what was really cool when I profiled this band is that one of the band members messaged me and told me a few things about it, which fantastic. I love it when I hear from band members and leaving messages. But the band that I'm talking about is Soraya. So this is the debut album, and again, probably another one of those albums that has increased in my sort of the amount that I have appreciation for it has increased over the last few years. So this has got Tony Ray on guitar and vocals here. He's the person who actually contacted me and messaged me about this album, which was great. And I had actually also had a request to profile the band, and so that was one reason why I did it. But yeah, so been listening to this band quite a bit over recent times, and it's just definitely highlighted to me this is a great album. And also the follow-up album is also very good, When the Blackbird Sings. And I think I said when I talked about this band that I think both albums are equally good, and it's very difficult to separate which one I like more than the other. I think there's some really good standout songs on here, maybe more consistency for this one. But yeah, I think they're both really good. Queen of Sheba, great song. When You See Me Again, that might be my favorite Soraya song. I really like that one. But then, Seducer is really good also. Yeah, this is real solid, this one. But, also, Love Has Taken Its Toll, Healing Touch, fantastic. Back to the Bullet. That's, why that wasn't a hit, I don't know. I think that's just got such a great hook on it. But yeah, and a lot of people were just like would really love a third Soraya album, but it has not happened. So it is two and done. But they are number two on my top 10 two and done hair metal albums. All right, coming in at number one, this band put out just the two albums, and they are known for some over-the-top guitar playing. And it's not Nitro. But it is, yes, Rock and Metal Invasion is, of course, the name of this channel, and it is named after this band, Vinnie Vincent Invasion. So this is the debut album. Vinnie Vincent, of course, from Kiss on guitar, amazing guitar work. Now you got Robert Fleischman on vocals for this one, but in the music video, it's Mark Slaughter for Boys Are Gonna Rock, which is a killer song, crazy music video. Great album. I remember hearing this back in the day and going, whoa, this is unlike anything I've heard before. So yeah, it is a bit over the top, and of course, I was joking about it with Nitro because sometimes, there's some comparisons to that sort of over the top aspects, but I think musically this is much better. Songwriting, of course, much better. Vinnie Vincent, very accomplished songwriter. So great stuff. Really good, and the follow up also very good. Some people prefer the second one. Some people prefer the first one. I probably prefer the first one, but then I also love this album as well. So that's why it's my number one, two and done, because basically I think they're both great albums. And yes, Vinnie Vincent has had his issues in recent times, and I must admit I am a member of his Facebook group, and I get crazy messages about this or that, and there's going to be an album and tour and all this kind of stuff that is never going to happen. But at the end of the day, when it comes to Vinnie Vincent, those albums that he put out as Vinnie Vincent Invasion back in the 80s, I think, stand the test of time. I still enjoy playing them. Great albums. Doesn't matter really for me if it's Mark Slaughter or Robert Fleischman on vocals. Really good stuff. So I enjoyed both those albums very much. Now, I know he did put out an EP in the mid-90s, and again, I know he's promising to put out a third album, full-length album, but yeah, I'm not going to lose sleep waiting for that one. All right, anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think about my top 10 two and done. Maybe there's some I'm missing. Maybe I've got some wrong. Maybe they did do another album. Let me know, even if it's just one of those obscure independent ones that I wasn't aware of. This is, of course, a follow-up to my one and done hair metal albums, which is ended up being my top 10 one and done hair metal albums, but ended up being my most popular video. So, hey, that's probably what's motivated me to do a second one, but this time two and done. Actually, it's been really interesting because rather than judging an album, I've actually been sort of combining two albums and judging them that way. So it's quite an interesting way to sort of, rank music or rank albums when you're not just ranking one album, you're ranking two. And of course, sometimes with artists, one album can be quite different, and you might feel quite different about an artist, the other album that an artist has done. So you never know, there could be a three and done ranking at some point. I might do something similar like this where I sort of combined artists and their albums and sort of do a head-to-head or something like that. But anyway, like I said, leave your comments in the comment section if you'd like to tell me what you think. Make sure you hit the thumbs up if you like this type of content, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet done that and you enjoy this type of content. All right, thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.